Hello dear audience and welcome to first Rauta opinion video now in December 2019. It's about 30 months, that is 2.5 years that Rauta has been here, and during that time we've done roughly about 70 interviews. We, meaning me and my camera crew, whom without I wouldn't have been able to pull it off, that is, all those interviews that I've been doing around different festivals and other places. As you might know, if you're, let's say, a long-time follower, you know that mostly these interviews have taken place in different fests, such as Steelfest, Tuska, and other places. But recently I got to do the first foreign trip with Rauta crew, which is kind of hard to do because of budget things. However, the point here is not about talk budget or money or whatever. It's just to point out how some interviews won't get done. And it's most often not because of me exactly, it's because of other reasons. So the topic of today is why some bands are not inclined for video interviews or interviews for Rauta specifically. Well, there is no simple yes or no kind of answer to this, except that it is quite simple in fact. Now, most of the band which I started to interview when Rauta was kind of launched in around May or June 2017 was done because, well, I got connections, so to speak. I don't know if I so much have a name, so to say, but more about because I've been running back and forth around metal scene in Finland, and some people know me and maybe even trust me, and some people just decided to take so-called a risk, like what the hell we have to lose in order to do just an interview with this bald-headed guy we know nothing about. Now, I think first few interviews were more or less sort of a rehearsals, kind of a practice, exercising how we should be doing this channel and what kind of interviews we should be doing in the first place. I don't know if I have since those times actually progressed or evolved, but at least I think it's nowadays kind of easier to get these interviews done. Why? First of all, now we're finally getting some name under our belt, so to speak. I think we have succeeded to convince some of those bands that it is worthwhile to have these sometimes meaningful conversations, which we call interviews. And in general, I think people have found sort of a trust. For example, I get this nice compliment to one of the bands I managed to interview in Glasgow, Darkness Guides Us Festival, that he, the band member that is, was taking a look a couple of interviews before taking the interview with us, and seemed like as he liked it, or at least find it reasonable enough to do this interview with me. Now, even so, no matter how big Rauta might be or how much name we would get because of the things we do or the people I interview, there are always some bands that are not exactly ready to do a video interview, which then again I kinda understand very well, and in a way I don't understand one bit. It all comes down to so many factors, but basically there are two things which I guess matter the most. First of all, some people are not ready to talk before camera. And this is not only the problem with video interviews, or me specifically, or the channel specifically. It's more about that some people don't feel comfortable in order to do an interview before camera. First of all, I don't have a list of questions. For example, I got declined one interview possibility, I guess, or that what I was told anyway, because I didn't present the questions beforehand. Like, I didn't have a list of questions like, these are the questions which I am going to do. Now, I could have fooled the band itself by sending just a list of random questions and then talking totally something different. But that would be unfair on my behalf, and to be honest, I don't think that would have made much of sense. First of all, I would have probably just annoyed the band itself, even though there's a possibility that it might have gone just good. But I mean, I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in being dishonest. So that's kind of like beyond. I mean, if a band doesn't want to do interview because I don't send a list of questions, just skip it. There you have it. Now also some bands don't like to do video interview anyway, not even if they would get those list of questions, and even if I manage to do just those questions promised in beforehand, because like I said, it's uncomfortable and it might be just feeling a little bit too awkward to talk before the camera. Some people are not just used to it, some people are way too shy, and just some people don't want to show their faces. So like I said, there are many reasons, but they all come to kind of to same kind of a place in a way, metaphorically speaking, that is they are not ready for a video interview, and that's basically what there is to say about it. Now the reasons might vary. Some people are just wanting to have the kind of a mysterious veil before their eyes, so they don't want to kind of reveal themselves before the camera, and that is before the audience. So they want to just keep themselves, I don't know, anonymous, or maybe they just want to have the kind of a mystery before you, so kind of make this sort of a distance between you, the audience, and them as a band. And then again, I understand very well, because of privacy matters, not everybody wants to be seen before the screen, because or on the screen rather, because I mean it takes so much off, you know. There was like this saying here about American Indians. Some of those, it seems, this is what I was reading anyway, a few years ago, said that they believed that taking a picture with a camera would steal a part of their soul within this devilish conception of whatever, and as such they didn't feel comfortable, you know, taking those photos. It was not so much about having this photo there and their image in that photo, but rather that they believed that their soul would be kind of stolen, or that's how I understood it anyway. Be it true or not, the point is that some people are not ready to be there. And in that respect, I understand, especially among the black metal bands, when there is this mystery. Like if you think about 1990s, there were lots of bands with corpse paints and vague pictures, not even always band photos in those CD or LP releases. So you couldn't find out what these guys looked like, how they presented themselves, what were the presents, you know. So you just have to figure out what it was. And even if you saw this picture, it might have corpse paints and long black hair flowing before the eyes, and maybe grumpy faces or weird possessed faces even. And sometimes that is totally different than what is the actual thing in real life. So you might see a different character or role on stage, and before the camera it's different. Obviously, it's pretty much the same, like you have different role as a main man of the band, maybe a vocalist, maybe a guitar player, and then as a, I don't know, husband or dad, or, well, mom, or, I don't know, wife, or just something else. I mean, you have different roles when it comes to work, different roles when you have in a band, or a family member, or brother, sister, who knows what. And as such, some people don't want to break this feeling of mystery. They don't want to vanish the fog, so to speak. So they want to keep it very secret. And even though if some people don't mind that, like I said, they might be not comfortable to talk about these things before the camera. Maybe they would get like staggering with their talk. Or maybe they would get nervous. Maybe they would get angry and they don't want to reveal those sides to the audience. So there are many reasons why video interviews are not exactly happening. Now I know many of you have actually make wishes, had made like, can you interview this and that band? And I wish I could always say, sure, that's next thing which is happening. But there are these reality factors which kind of make it impossible. First of all, some bands just say, no, it's not gonna happen before the camera. Without questions beforehand or not, it's not gonna happen. And I just have to accept it, as much as you basically have to do. Sometimes I try to convince certain bands, Imbal Nazarene by the way, and they might do it eventually, but it's not very likely. So in terms of when video interviews are going to happen for Rauta and with which bands, I usually don't know it beforehand. When I make the suggestion like, hey, what about a video interview for the channel, I usually get the response which is either two ways. It's like, sure, let's do it, as long as our schedule can fit it, or no way, we're not doing an video interview. And it's not so much about this channel or me specifically, at least what I've been told anyway. Maybe they're just polite, but some bands are not gonna cut it. And in case the whole lineup goes like totally new, becomes renewed or replaced even, I don't think certain bands are ever ready to do this. And I must kind of honor that decision. Well, I don't have to honor it, but I mean, like, it's not kind of gonna change it. And the second reason is why some bands are not able to do it, because first of all, some bands are way too far away from here, and if they're not doing gigs or tours, they're not coming to Finland, which means it's essentially kind of next to impossible for me to interview them. I know if future changes this, maybe Rauta gets to see other places, other fests, other gigs, other tours outside Finland someday, someplace, but I don't see that happening in any time soon anyway. That would basically mean that we have a kind of a big budget and we could just go travel to places like, for example, I don't know if Behexen of Burzum would decline the possibility of video interview, but that would mean essentially me traveling to his home in France. So it's not like Burzum is coming for a kick in Finland and then we're like, hey, what about some beers and interview? And yeah, let's do it. So there are many reasons why things don't happen, even if there is a yes, let's do it kind of a vibe coming from the band. So that's kind of give you an idea why certain band interviews don't happen. And then there's this last part, which is schedule problems. For example, I've been planning to do Goatmoon interview about a year now. Well, maybe not as much, but anyway, many months. And now we finally agreed to do it next May. We're supposed to do it around this November, December 2019. That is based on what I had to talk with Black Goat at Steelfest 2019. But as it is, more gigs were booked, more gigs were booked, and as such, it was postponed. But now it seems that we're eventually going to do it. So schedule problems are kind of a little bit problematic every now and then. But once you can actually conquer those problems, there's no reason why we wouldn't do an interview. So if it's up to me, I would interview every possible metal band in the world. That is some 130,000 or so. So give or take. Not going to happen, but I mean, as many as possible. So in case you play in a band, in a metal band or band related to metal, and you would like to do an interview with me for a Rauta channel, get in touch with me and let's make it happen. And for the audience, keep your hopes and wishes coming about interviews. I'll do my very best to make these interviews happen. I'm not gonna promise they will happen, but at least I will try to figure out how and when to do it, especially if they're coming to Finland, especially if they're coming to my hometown. There's basically no reason why not to do it. And when it comes to foreign trips, we'll see how the budget flows. Anyway, thank you for watching, thank you for understanding, and keep your comments and suggestions coming. I will get back to you whenever I can. Going to vacation right now, so see you soon with more Rauta stuff coming your way.